what I'd like to do now is talk about some of the other winners and as well as some of the honorable mentions of other projects that came through in this amazing slew of projects that were submitted. Second place went to this smarter phone. Bernat, Lozano, Rabella, and Rocio, Garcia, Ramos. I hope I get people's names correctly, who are both in Barcelona, and they designed a phone that, well, actually, for the first thing that they did, which we really liked, is they did a very deep dive into life cycle, which was really beautifully done. They really looked a lot at the product system, which is something that we're always encouraging designers and engineers to think about, is to how to think about the product they're designing in the context of the whole life cycle system. And then they really looked at how to make a phone that's upgradable and modular, and we really liked the product architecture, the way that this was put together, just a really kind of unique set of solutions that they did here. So they were looking at the system as well as the kind of engineering, and then quite lovely design overall. The third place winner was, and I apologize if I get his name wrong, David Ngene from RISD Industrial Design, who developed this set of Able headphones. These were also really great from a repairability standpoint, as well as just a terrific overall design expression. I really liked the beautiful renderings. It's sort of a classic entry. Did a lot of research, and it's very polished. But it's also looking at a really core problem. Fred Bold mentioned that everyone loses headphones or breaks them, and this is a clever solution and has not really been done yet. So bravo. He gave us some of the background on his ideation, and really created something that was very simple and allowed people to upgrade the parts very simply, which is, as probably all of you know, and I have a headset on right now, most of these things are not upgradable or really the kind of thing you want to upgrade. So he looked at the system in a really nice way. The first honorable mention that we wanted to call out is by Ronja Ophelia Hasselback, who's at the Folkwang University of the Arts in Germany, for the coffee maker that she developed. And this is actually interesting because we had a whole range of different entrants, some of which are very complex, and really looked at either complex systems or looked at really complex products. What we really liked about the coffee maker was the fact that, in fact, it was really simple. It was very elegant from a just straight up industrial design perspective. It's a lovely thing. And she also really looked at some of the core problems around why coffee machines tend to break, and it turns out that it's actually a very simple problem in the mechanics deep inside most of the machines, and so it's kind of this common thing. And so how can we design something that just does away with that bottleneck? And so it was very, very simple. The mechanics are very simple. And from a kind of industrial design long-term aesthetic perspective, we liked the fact that it is polished, it's stylish and unassuming, and really likely to last through changes in fashion, while also doing away with a typically weak technical link. So really nice work on this. And of course, she, like a lot of other entries, even though this wasn't in fact part of our criteria, she looked at some of these considerations around biodegradability of materials, the size of the components, and so forth. Another honorable mention from William Tham, so industrial design at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. This is really looking at home lawn irrigation, and it's a pretty comprehensive project. It looked at using sensors, hoses, standard sprinklers. Again, it's a smart product in the sense that it's really trying to look at how electronics make their way into lots of general products that we buy. But then they also is really looking at the problem of water conservation. So there's a value, there's really a sustainability value that's being brought to the user, where they're able to use the sensors and the smart technology to be able to use the least amount of water. But then from there, getting into how something can be really put together and repaired and thought about kind of as a whole product. So, another comment from one of the judges, from Fred Bold, he said that SimpleStream was a logical and thoughtful solution to outdoor watering. We really thought it was a great idea to consider water usage on this level, and we also really liked just seeing the kind of comprehensive thinking that went into this. He also looked at how smartphone applications and so forth could fit into the whole product system and experience. The CleanCut is another honorable mention that I want to call it from a team of several folks at TU Delft in the Netherlands. And once again, a fairly simple product, at least in terms of its overall design and aesthetic. But what they were looking at is surgical procedures in developing world contexts, where you can't actually replace it, you can't actually throw things away so easily. You need to be replacing, cleaning, sterilizing, returning or repairing things in a really different way, in a way that you wouldn't necessarily do in other contexts. And so we had a number of different solutions that looked at technology for developing world or technology for humanitarian outcomes. This one seemed really well considered and thought through. They communicated it really nicely. They had a kind of lovely sort of comic storyboard that they did, or sort of comics style storyboard, I should say, that they put together. And I'm just pulling at Jeremy Faluti's notes. He said this is a really good design, and medical waste is a huge problem. So it looks like it would save a huge number of devices and is very feasible. So we really appreciated that. And they look at the typical product and then a set of comparisons on how they could create something that also has a return and replace service, having things that can be disassembled and recycled and easily repaired and standardized. The last one that I'd love to call out here by Ehsan Noursalehi, I apologize, from University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, is this Wi-Fi router. And we really liked this one a lot, for a number of reasons. But Adam Mentor noted that this is really a wonderful project because the core of the Wi-Fi router is very small. It's this very basic thing, and it's almost a kind of a commodity product that really could, in a lot of ways, could benefit in a lot of different audiences and for a lot of different markets from being, understandably, something that is kind of a short-term product, or that the housing can change and be disassembled and recycled very easily. So, he mentions that this is really one of the most well thought out and implementable entries overall. It doesn't need a totally new economic model for it to work, and it actually talked a lot about designing for the 100%. That this is not necessarily something that that depended on one market or another. There are lots of different markets that it could work in. So with that, I'll just show you a few of the resources that that we pointed people to, but this is also a good opportunity. If any of you have questions, you can type them in into the question window, and I can respond to those, or I can get back to you. So I'll give you a couple minutes to do that, but I also once again, I really want to thank all of the entrants for this. This was really wonderful. I mean, I've judged a number of design competitions. This one was by far the most fun, with some of the best and most thoughtful entries around sustainability that I've ever seen. Really looking at how to make some of these technical problems, which is really some of the trickiest stuff to address from a sustainability perspective, is how do you look at things that have electronics and smart components in them, and really fold sustainable thinking into that. So this was a total pleasure, and we think that this is the kind of thing that more and more designers, engineers, anybody working on product development, we're going to have to think about these kinds of things and think about them in a smart way, and it's wonderful to see so much sophisticated thinking going on around it right now from students. Some of the resources that I can recommend, or that we pointed everybody to, is, of course, we run the Autodesk Sustainability Workshop, so we have a ton of different resources and things for teaching different concepts of sustainable design, not just looking at product lifetime, although we have a ton of stuff on that. But also looking at energy, materials, different kinds of ways that you can design greener, more sustainable, more efficient products. Lots of short videos and different tools for that. Autodesk, of course, provides free software to students and educators, and so that's all available for you at students.autodesk.com. And you can reach me directly at EcoWorkshop or at don.danby@autodesk.com. Two of the really wonderful resources that I think look at very different aspects of looking at designing for product lifetime, but that we heartily encourage, and we're very excited to have their partnership on, were Dan Lockton, whose Design with Intent toolkit is one of the best things that I know for really looking at designing for human behavior. And iFixIt, and so Kyle Wiens and his iFixIt.com and .org and Dazuki.com, his whole empire of do-it-yourself electronics repair, incredibly valuable, useful insights. And so those are all great for any of you who are looking at bringing this kind of thinking into the way that you design. You don't necessarily need to be an engineer to be thinking about these kinds of technical problems, because there's lots of roles to be played and lots of, as you can see, a lot of good thinking that needs to be done from an industrial design perspective that really looks at how products can be made repairable, greener, and really help decrease e-waste.